Hello, my friends. My name is Kim, and if you are interested in true crime like I am, I hope that you would consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I hope you are having a fabulous day today. Today, I am drinking a Zevia. This one is the cream soda. It's super delicious. I absolutely love these. So today I have a doozy of a case for you. Today we're going to be talking about Parris Bennett. Parris Bennett. Parris, at the age of 13 years old, killed his 4-year-old sister. He called 911 on himself, giving a story to the dispatcher that was kind of a stretch of the truth. Parris gives off the impression that he feels remorse, but it was later discovered that Parris has clear signs of being a psychopath. To give some context to what a psychopath is, it is defined as a mental antisocial disorder in which an individual manifests abnormal and antisocial behavior, shows lack of ability to love or establish meaningful personal relationships, expresses extreme egocentricity, and demonstrates a failure to learn from experience and other behaviors associated with their condition. Do you know anyone like this? I feel like I've come across a few people in my many years of life that resemble that description. Before I get ahead of myself in the story, let's start with who Parris is and what led to a diagnosis of a psychopath. Parris Bennett was born October 10th, 1993. My daughter was born in 1993, but we are not going to think about that. They lived in a Bible town of Abilene, Texas, lots of churches. Parris Bennett was the son of Charity, and it was him, his sister, Ella, who was 4 years old, and his mom. They all lived together. And it was on Super Bowl Sunday, February 4th, 2007. Parris was at home with his 4-year-old sister, Ella, and they had a babysitter that Charity, the mom, had arranged. She worked at Buffalo Wild Wings. It was Super Bowl, so she had to work. So that evening, they went out to eat. The babysitter and Ella and Parris all went out to eat. They came home. Parris, Ella, and the babysitter ended up watching a movie. The babysitter put young Ella to bed. It was surprising to me that Parris had a babysitter at 13 years old, that his mom arranged that. Parris that evening ended up binge watching violent porn for hours. He watched graphic porn like S&M, bondage, and sadism. He even searched for snuff films in the hours leading up to the events of the evening. Yeah, I guess he did need a babysitter. With Parris having a brain full of ideas and snuff, he was able to convince the babysitter that she could leave around 10 p.m. Parris was only 13 years old, but this kid was smart. It was not hard to believe that he was able to talk her into leaving. He was only 13 and had an IQ of 141. That is a genius level, folks. That is crazy. What a waste of a genius. After the babysitter was clear from the home, Parris went to attack the 4-year-old sister Ella in her bedroom. Parris at the time claimed that he was having hallucinations, and then he made this 911 call.
I accidentally killed somebody.
You think you killed somebody?
No, I know I did. I feel so messed up.
Is she breathing right now?
No. And I was hallucinating.
You were hallucinating?
Yes, and I thought my sister was a demon, and I killed her.
I want you to start CPR, okay? What I want you to do is take her off the bed.
No, I know for a fact that she's dead because
Do you want to go ahead and try? It might still help, okay?
No, I don't think it'll help because...
Come on, Parris, work with me.
I know I stabbed her lots of times.
Okay, Parris,
Yes?
take her off the bed and put her on the floor.
Okay, hold on. Please don't hang up.
I'm not hanging up on you.
I thought she was a demon.
Okay.
Okay, she's on the floor, but I can't stay here because she's all bloody and
Parris,
stuff.
what I want you to do is I want you to put your hands on her chest Okay? And I want you to push 30 times. I want you to count.
Okay.
All the way to 30, and then blow 2 breaths in her mouth. Okay?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Parris, before he made that call to 911, apparently he calls his friend. He calls his friend and talked to him for 6 minutes before he called the police. Could you just imagine that conversation with the friend? Hey, bud, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I had pizza for dinner, and I got to level 20 on Minecraft. What did you do, Parris? Sweet. I didn't do much. I just choked and stabbed my sister to death. I don't know exactly what that conversation went like, but that is so bizarre to me. But apparently he did tell this friend what had happened before he called 911. So on the 911 call, the operator is asking Parris to perform CPR. He is saying that he doesn't think it's going to work. The operator is begging him to try. Parris then starts counting out loud as he was doing it, as he was acting like he was doing it, but paramedics claimed that there was no way he was actually performing CPR on poor Ella based on how her body was positioned.
The 911 operator told Parris how to perform CPR on his sister the night he stabbed her.
Go ahead, count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Listen to this admission.
I did not try to perform CPR. I took the phone and I left the room. And I remember counting into the phone to make the operator think that I was doing CPR.
So that voice we hear on the 911 call, that voice we hear counting, is just you on the phone in another room?
Yes, I wasn't even in the room at that point.
And Charity was able to listen to that 911 call, and she was like, Charity, the mom, she's like, no, that is not his cry. Like, he doesn't cry like that. He was faking. It was later discovered by Ella's autopsy that first she had been choked, he beat her, and then he stabbed her 17 times. It was stated that his stabs were slow and methodical, not frenzied, not uncontrolled rage. Not all were deep. Most were shallow jabs and punctures, wanting to inflict pain and suffering upon his 4-year-old sister. At first, Parris claimed that he killed his sister because of a hallucination that made his sister look like a pumpkin-headed demon on fire. But later he admitted that he planned to attack on his little sister and revealed that not only did he want to kill his sister, but he also planned to murder his mom. Piers Morgan did an interview with Parris, and Parris stated that the murder was driven by a calculated desire to inflict pain and misery upon his mother. The same mother that got him and his sister a babysitter so she could go to work and provide for them. If this is true, why was Parris so angry at his mother? Let's talk about Charity, his mother, for a moment. So this story, Charity's story, starts out with a bombshell, so we'll just get to it. It's crazy. So Charity's dad was murdered when Charity was 6 years old. Charity's mother was accused of plotting the murder for hire on her dad. Again, Charity's mom was accused of hiring someone to kill her husband. She wasn't convicted. She was acquitted of the charges. But that is an interesting way to start your life. Charity firmly believes her mom did it. The circumstances are interesting as Charity's parents were married and then they divorced. And then 2 days after they got remarried, he was killed. Like 50-something hours only. Charity's mom went on to marry 6 more times over the course of Charity's life. So it may not be a big surprise that Charity picked up drugs to cope. She was addicted to heroin by the age of 17. Her mom kicked her out of the house. She moved into a halfway house. She managed to get clean after 3 months, and at this point is when she became pregnant with Parris. She states that the pregnancy saved her and she was going to become the parent that she wished she'd always had. Parris's dad was not in the picture and not much is known about him. Charity would become pregnant again when Parris was 8 years old. Parris was not too excited about his mom being pregnant. It had been only the two of them for so long that he just wasn't excited about it. He didn't want things to change. He just wanted them to continue the way that they were.
Parris was not happy when I was pregnant with Ella. And I was concerned. But the day that Ella was born, he fell in love.
But when his baby sister Ella was born, he became the big brother that Charity could only wish for. Well, so she thought. They appeared to have a bond instantly. So now it's Ella, Parris, and Charity. Ella's dad was not in their lives as well. Looking at all the home videos and pictures, it just makes this case all that more disturbing because they look so happy. Charity stayed clean as far as drugs and alcohol for a while, but of course addiction is no joke. She began using again when Parris was 11 years old. This time it was cocaine. Parris did not take this lightly. This turned his life upside down. He was angry at his mother for doing this to him. Their relationship was never the same. Parris lost all trust in Charity. Charity would also claim that Parris's personality was not the same from that point forward. He became more and more angry. She claimed that this relapse lasted only 6 months until she was able to get clean. 6 months isn't even a school year. It's crazy how much that short time affected him in that way. So after you know how the earlier years went, I'm going to give you this quote from Piers Morgan also. The Netflix documentary, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but this is him speaking about the murder. He said in the Netflix documentary, quote, "This wasn't an impulsive fit of rage, but a deliberate act he had planned. He killed his sister, who he loved, just to punish his mother, knowing he would go to prison and she would lose both of her kids. This was a punishment to his mother in one go," unquote. This is just scary to think about if it's true. I don't know what conversation they had for him to lead up to that statement, that big, bold statement, but that seems to be, I don't know, a bit sophisticated for a 13-year-old, even with his high intelligence. But just my opinion, tell me I'm wrong in the comments. There were early warning signs that Parris gave out. He was hanging out with his sister, his baby sister Ella, when Ella started crying because Parris had broken one of her toys. Charity, the mom, and Parris started arguing about this, and this is when Parris picked up a knife and started swinging it around as if he was going to stab her. They were able to get the knife away from him with nobody getting hurt, but Charity did not take this lightly. She admitted him to a psychiatric hospital, which he stayed there for a week. He was discharged after that. Nothing really changed, it doesn't sound like. There was no medications given. There was no ongoing treatment that was reported. So don't really believe that that was the case, unfortunately. You know, after a big incident like that, you go to the hospital and then have to stay consistent with treatment. But being a single mom, health insurance, what it's like, it's understandable that she wasn't able to continue. Parris would also bang his head against the wall until it bled. This is really scary that he had that much anger built up in him. Circling back, I always wondered why a 13-year-old had a babysitter. Now, I grew up a little bit different, so I have no real compass, but I feel like 13 years old is a bit old. I guess I get hung up on the most minute details for whatever reason. It's insignificant, but it's like 13 years old and you have a babysitter. So, but Ella's only 4. I don't know. I think it makes more sense when you know that Parris is showing all these signs of aggression, that this kind of stuff that she's sharing, there could be a lot more that isn't being shared. So she, in my opinion, and I'm overthinking it, is that she probably had the babysitter because Ella was so young and she was worried. She was worried about her safety, that she's seen some of these signs. But of course, that's in my opinion. So the day of the killing, Parris is arrested and first claimed he was having hallucinations, so he stabbed Ella due to this. On top of the torture method of shallow stabbings and strangling, Parris's semen was found on Ella's bed and also in his underwear. His 4-year-old sister, what kind of sick hallucination? What the fuck? His mom asked him about the semen and he went ballistic. He flipped a table and started yelling at her, punching a wall. He did not like the fact that she was confronting him about this. His over-the-top anger really confuses me. Is it a diversion? Does he really feel like he's offended? Parris pled guilty and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Parris has flip-flopped on the mode of events of the day. I think he likes messing with people and he keep people interested in what he has to say next. I personally only care that he says the words, "I'm getting out," because that's when I know I need to leave this country. Parris is serving a 40-year sentence at the Ferguson Unit Texas State Prison. He is eligible for parole in 2027. That is right around the corner, folks. Can you imagine? I really doubt that he will get out. There's books, there's interviews, there's all kinds of experts who say, no, he's not getting out. Experts have advised Charity, the mom, and Charity now has a son, Phoenix, that they need to go in hiding before Parris is released from prison. But even after the warning and the threats from Parris, she allows her youngest son, Phoenix, to talk to Parris.
When the autopsy came back, I found out that, Ella had been stabbed 17 times and beaten and choked, and basically my daughter was tortured.
Even though he's responsible for killing her daughter, Parris's mother, Charity, still comes to visit him every few months at this Texas prison, where Parris is serving a 40-year sentence.
Because she wants to teach her youngest child what unconditional love and forgiveness is. That is just bananas, in my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. He killed one of her children, so now you put your other child in front of him? I just feel like Charity has a few screws loose. I guess I am a bit concerned that this story became about Charity versus the real criminal, which is Parris. All serial killers and murderers in general always take it back to how they grew up. They blame their parents. A lot of it has to do with their parents and how a lot of these hate their mothers. It is rare that the mothers go on to write books and news and talk shows and speaking events. I appreciate the hustle. Pop off, girl. Get yours. Clearly, she deserves it. On this one, though, I think I'm going to go with nurture and not nature. Again, just my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong. Regardless, my pain goes out to Charity. She really did lose 2 children in one clean swoop. And the only person to blame is Parris himself. And I hope he never sees the outside of those prison walls. Charity started an Ella Fund that I will link below. This helps victims of violence and honestly is a really good thing. I have been joking about fearing that Parris will be released, but he will be released for sure in 2047, as that's when his sentence will end. He will be 53 when he is released. That seems so young, but I'm reminded he was only 13 when he went to prison. This case is a wild one. Parris is truly one of those people I fear. I haven't heard of him getting into any trouble while he's been in jail. Not sure if this means anything, but it's comforting to me. But I guess I should take that back, because he did one time choke Charity, and he had to be separated from her, so there's that. I'm gonna bring my son to be around you. You guys, this case is frustrating. Let me know what you think about Charity letting her son Phoenix be a part of Parris's life. Am I being too tough? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what you'd like to see next. I am always looking for new cases. This one was suggested by one of my loyal subscribers, and sorry girl, it took me so long to get this up, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Well, if you guys have made it to the end, you guys are rock stars and I love you to death. There are more true crime videos in my Captured Killers playlist for you to check out. But either way, stay safe, my loves, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Is this video any good?